Start your degree after O-levels. Call IIT on 0766 760 760.
Toyota race එකක් නම් Toyota ලංකාව තමයි.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අපට විශ්වාස Toyota Lanka.
Declaring Liberation Day, President Trump announced the decision to impose tariffs of 10% against several countries. However, the declared tariffs were even higher for 60 nations or trading blocs that maintain high trade deficit with the United States. US President Donald Trump initially imposed a tariff rate of 44% in April for Sri Lankan exports. The rate, however, was then dropped to 30% as outlined in a letter directed to President Anurukumara Dissanayake dated the 10th of July. Thereafter, the Sri Lankan government commenced negotiations, eyeing a target of reducing the 30% tariff rate even further in view of maintaining price competitiveness of Sri Lankan exports. Against this backdrop, US President Donald Trump announced a new tariff plan with a few hours remaining till the August 1st trade deadline. According to the US's new plan, the reciprocal tariff rate imposed against Sri Lanka was brought down to 20%. The tariff rate imposed on regional competitor India was reduced to 25% from 26%, while the tariff rate against Bangladesh was dropped to 20% from 37%. The tariff rate imposed against Pakistan also dropped to 19% from 29%. Nations subject to comparatively higher rates of reciprocal tariffs include Laos and Myanmar facing 40%, Switzerland facing 39%, Iraq facing 35%, and Serbia also facing 35%. The imposition of new tariff rates introduced by the Trump administration is expected to commence on the 7th of August this year. Speaking at a media briefing today, Secretary to the Finance Ministry Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma hailed the reduction of US reciprocal tariff rates as a commendable achievement.
මේ ගමන සාර්ථකව කරගෙන මෙතනට එන්නට
We must particularly appreciate the intervention of the President who led us to success from the very outset of the negotiations. I would like to also extend my gratitude to the special team comprising Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, Senior Economic Advisor to the President Dumindu Hulangamuwa, Secretary to the Minister of Trade Vimalendra Raja, and Sri Lankan Ambassador to the United States Mahinda Samarasinghe. The collaborative efforts of this team led us to success. Trade negotiations are very tiring and typically time-consuming. However, in this instance, we were provided only 90 days. US officials provided us all necessary support day and night. We are indeed very thankful to them. They assisted us while also handling negotiations with many other countries. Our discussions were geared towards ensuring sustainability of Sri Lankan exporters and businesses while also maintaining price competitiveness. Rather than focusing on the tariff percentage, the aim was to maintain our market share while also competing within the international market with regional competitors exporting similar goods and services. Through business communities, we were appraised of the opportunities that lie ahead in stark contrast to the challenges. This depicts the mutually beneficial nature of this tariff framework. We see this as a massive victory for the country. Several other facts, however, must be ascertained to ensure that this victory continues on. We intend to hold discussions to explore avenues to further reduce the tariff rates, which were lowered for Sri Lanka in comparison to other peer economies. We will hold further discussions to vigilantly explore more opportunities with our US counterparts.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa issued a statement expressing relief over the much lower 20% reciprocal tariff imposed against Sri Lanka, in a stark contrast to India, which faces a tariff rate of 25%. The opposition leader further emphasized the need for Sri Lanka to aim for tariff rates below 15% to provide a substantial boost to Sri Lankan exporters. He also called for the establishment of a dedicated team comprising trade economists and lead negotiators to proactively engage in ongoing trade discussions and ensure continued progress. Meanwhile, Parliamentarian of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya Dr. Harsha De Silva asserts that the reduction of tariffs, which followed high-stakes negotiations, must not be lauded as political victories.
අද උදෑසන වෙද්දී සුබ ආරංචියක් ලංකාවට හම්බුණා 130ක් තිබිච්ච බද්ද 20 අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. සතුටුයිද?
ඔව් සතුටුයි. අපි මොන දේශපාලන පක්ෂේ හිටියා.
I believe that Sri Lanka should always be our first priority, no matter which political party we represent. If tariffs for Sri Lanka were set at rates rendering competition with peer economies impossible, looming ahead would be a far darker predicament. I do not wish to name any names here, but many contributed to this battle at Sri Lanka's hour of need. This is a victory achieved by many collectively. I don't view this as a political win.
In the meantime, tariffs of 10% imposed on selected goods imported from Sri Lanka into the United States under the Most Favoured Nation tariff framework will continue to be in effect. Such goods will be exempt from the 20% reciprocal tariffs. Sri Lankan authorities are carrying out further negotiations with US trade representatives on ensuring that the 10% MFN tariff imposed on over 1,200 HS codes is either maintained at the same level or reduced further. The United States will continue to implement the MFN tax framework, while tariffs imposed on several agro exports, including tea, will continue to remain the same.